Good afternoon, everyone. It's quite an honor today to be presenting in the International Trade Center. My name is Jaime Vos, and I am the Senior Director of the AEM Safety Materials Program. AEM is the Association of Equipment Manufacturers and the proud producer of ConExpo ConAg. On behalf of the association, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. I hope everyone's enjoying themselves and learning a lot of new things. Over the last 3 days, I've learned two very important things. Number one, wear comfortable shoes. And number two, which I forgot today, wear sunscreen. So I'm a little burned. But thank you for your interest in the presentation today. Before we get started into the subject matter, I have a disclaimer that I need to throw out there. The original title of this presentation was called Equipment Safety in the Construction Industry. And while that's accurate, it's pretty broad, and full disclosure, I am not a full technical expert with equipment safety. I'm not certified, or I don't have a degree with equipment safety, but I have worked extensively with technical publications and safety publications as it relates to safe operation of equipment, and that's what I'd like to share with you today as it relates to the risk management in your business and with the safety of your employees. In the following slides, I'll be focusing on specific safety materials and other resources that can be used to educate your operators and reduce risk. So I think the more accurate title for this would be Strengthening Risk Management with Safety Materials. And before we get started, just a quick show of hands. How many people here actually work for companies that manufacture equipment, like are what in the show? You're a manufacturing company. Okay, good. And how many people here are working in industries that use big equipment, like contractors, construction companies, and the like? Okay, very good. Well, regardless of whether you're a manufacturer of big equipment or your business uses big equipment in its daily operations, the question around safety remains the same. How can businesses strengthen their risk management programs while at the same time educate employees in equipment safety? Before we get into any kind of literature or safety materials or resources or anything like that, the very first thing you need to recognize as an organization is you need to create a culture of safety. That's paramount. It's the foundation of risk management. Company leaders and their employees must agree and commit to safety as their number one priority. Your employees have families and loved ones who care about them and depend on them, and a safety program is priority to ensure that they return home. It's everyone's responsibility to ensure safe practices within your work environment. And organizations can empower their employees to create a culture of safety by implementing the following practices. First, assess the culture. Talk to the individual employees and find out how they view safety. What do they think of it? Do they treat it casually? Do they take it very importantly? Do they share it with other employees in teams? What do they see as being the definition of safety in their workplace? You have to connect with your employees. You have to also ensure leadership support. People at the top must lead safety initiatives and fully support them. Otherwise, you won't get any momentum, you won't get any support from your teams or from the workforce. Employee ownership and accountability is 3. Workers must fully commit to understanding the safety rules while living them and enforcing them. And that includes not only themselves, but also their coworkers. You have to look out for your buddy too. If you see somebody doing something unsafe on the site, you have to have the courage and commitment to draw it to their attention, to call them out on it, because their safety is just as important as yours, and you need to be almost your brother's keeper in that regard. Number 4 is share the results. You have to have some kind of measurement or metrics in place to be used to track progress, investigate problems, share results with employees, and encourage new ideas. We have to remember that workers will often recommend new safety ideas because they're the ones out in the field. They're the ones on the front lines experiencing what works and what doesn't. They should feel empowered to bring all of those ideas to management and share them without ridicule or recrimination. Your workers are your best source of insight to what constitutes a safe work site. And then finally, 5, everyday commitment. Reminders need to be in place to remind the employees to work safely. We're talking about proper signage, warning labels on the equipment or the manufacturing machines, and also those worker ideas. One of the best examples I saw several months ago on social media was a construction worker who had placed Hello Kitty stickers all over his helmet, and he had the Hello Kitty or the Barbie doll lunch bag. And his coworkers mocked him at first until they realized, or he explained to them, that his daughter had the same things at home, and those were constant reminders to him to work safely so that he could go home every night to be with his family. That was an outstanding example, and that's just one example of anything that you can include in your safety program. Now, getting into all the different resources that are available, there's a number of them, and you can implement safety within your organization. Obviously, here in North America, we have OSHA regulations and literature. Everything is posted on their site, easy access, and you can definitely include that in any of your safety programs to understand, and you should, to understand the regulations that are in place for the types of equipment that you use. There's a number of online training, everything from the manufacturers themselves. I know in terms of like aerial work platforms, or what they're now calling mobile elevating work platforms, there's a number of training from like JLG and Genie Terex. They offer the... Your
slides aren't changing, my dear.
Oh my goodness.
So we're going to go into the center mode.
Okay.
Right here. And then we're going to go ahead. Okay. Which slide are you supposed to be on?
Keep going.
Okay.
And one more. There you go.
You want it, your notes right there.
Thank you. I knew there was going to be a glitch somewhere. Let's get it out of the way first. Okay. There's a lot of online training resources that the manufacturers offer, as well as independent companies. I know a lot of our members in the service membership categories. I see the Ken Cook group here today. They do an outstanding job of providing safety training for a number of our members. There's a lot of resources out there that you can research and include in your program. Toolbox Talks is another one. That's becoming quite the norm, especially on construction sites. Workers get together as a team with the team leader every morning on the site and discuss either things that they've witnessed or things that they'd like to share, concerns, or new ideas about what could make the work site safer. It's an excellent resource, and I recommend it highly. Train the trainer programs are getting more common. I think a lot of North American rental companies like United Rentals and Sunbelt offer train the trainers. That's where someone has all of the knowledge into the safety programs, and they will train someone else so that they can train others, and it exponentially grows throughout your organization. It builds a very strong knowledge base within your company and among your workers, and again, strengthens your risk management from preventing accidents from happening. I would highly recommend that all of these be incorporated into your safety training, but for the sake of today's presentation, I'm going to focus now specifically on AEM's Safety Materials Program and the benefits that it provides, not only our members, but the general industry. As I said before, employee safety is paramount. But first, as a comparison, I'd like to feature risk management from the legal side. The safety program, at a glance, started in 1969 with the bulldozer manual. At that time, AEM was known as SEMA, or the Construction Industry Manufacturers Association. And the program has proven its value to our members and to the industry for over 50 years. It's important to remember that we think of it as a program. I have to correct a lot of my coworkers when they simply refer to it as, oh, the safety manuals, the safety materials. And I say, no, you need to remember it is a program. And that program is a tremendous value in the fact that our members have the manual documented in their manufacturing process with a part number, just like the tires that they use, just like hydraulic hoses, anything else that goes into building equipment requires a part number in that manufacturing process. And the AEM safety manual is no different. When it's documented into that process, it provides a much stronger part of the risk management program in case of an accident and possible litigation. The one thing I can expand on that a little bit with the part number is I know from some of the stories I've heard that the printed manual, because it's been in the equipment after an accident, it's been part of a discovery phase. That's the legal process. That's the due diligence that attorneys do when investigating why the accident happened. The very first thing they do is the safety literature included in the equipment. And it almost always is, because manufacturers do that with their own materials. But the real value of the AEM safety manual is that it's a consensus document. It's an industry best practices document that's agreed to by all of our members who serve on our technical committees. And I'll speak about that a little bit more in a minute. Right now, the program provides over 130 types of materials to our members and the general industry. Beginning with that bulldozer manual, we now have over 55 unique titles for all those different types of equipment, everything from excavators, skid steers, agricultural tractors, cranes, forklifts, and the like. All of the manuals are color-coded so that people know which sector that they fall into. The light green one is the mobile elevating work platform or lifting equipment. The yellow one down below is for lifting and rough terrain forklifts. Everything from brochures, decals, training kits, and even free PDF resources that we offer the general industry through our store can be used as part of a company's training program. It's important to note, though, at this point, that these manuals, as valuable as they are not a replacement for the OEM's original documentation. They are a complement to it. The other thing I can add to that is that in case of litigation, the other part of the value of the AEM manual is that it provides that industry consensus. If there were litigation brought against an equipment manufacturer and only their original documentation was included, it could be directly compared to their competitor. And the attorneys could look at it and say, well, they said this and you didn't include this. And it could be directly compared and maybe work to their disadvantage. When you have the industry consensus document coming from your association, it provides that blanket coverage in saying that all of our members agree that these are safe practices for the equipment operation. And if you have that in there, it definitely increases or strengthens your risk management in case of that litigation. So our members' roles. You'll see a lot of our members here on this slide, and I can tell you that every single one of them participate in our technical and safety committees. We have over 35 different committees at AEM that look specifically at the way equipment is used, whether it's excavation or lifting or crane technical committees or agricultural safety implementations. These committees are fully dedicated to developing, reviewing, and approving that content that goes into each of these manuals so that the industry agrees that it's the consensus and that it will protect everybody equally. We have all the different committees that we have include cranes, forklifts, earth moving, and we cover all the different sectors like construction, agriculture, forestry, utility, and mining. Our program is unique. There is nothing else like this from any other equipment association in the world. It's been around, as I said, for 50 years, and it serves quite a unique purpose in providing that value to our members. AEM safety manuals are sold all over the world. Our global reach is very extensive. We have members manufacturing in a number of countries all over the world, like Sweden, Germany, United Kingdom, Canada, and Brazil, as well as many others. We ship over 1 million pieces of safety materials every year to our members and the general industry. And a quick note here too regarding legal. I'm not a legal expert, but it's important to understand that these manuals, while they carry best practices, they are based on North American standards and regulations. However, a number of our members have told us that that translates very well into their countries and protects them on the same level. Every country will have its own legal proceedings and how they process litigation. But our members continually let us know that the manuals have a global reach and provide just as strong a value as they do here in North America. And speaking of industry, one of the strongest benefits of the AEM safety materials is that they not only serve our manufacturing members, but the construction industry as well. AEM is committed to promoting best safety practices to every type of industry that uses big equipment. Many of our customers include globally recognized construction companies and contractors, as well as training institutions, technical schools, and trade schools. One of the most interesting conversations I ever had was I noticed that a nationally known construction company was buying our manuals in a lot of different titles on a pretty regular basis. I assumed that they were probably just putting them into their equipment, much like the rental companies do or our members do. But I got really curious, and so I contacted their safety director and spoke with him by phone, and he said, yeah, not only do we place these in the equipment for risk management, we also put them into the hands of every single new hire before they step on the site. They included that manual as part of their safety training program, and as well as their online training, it served that value to them as well. So that was really interesting. And now we get into the digital age. And as we all know, a lot of technical documentation is going electronic, and rightly so. It makes it easier to access. It makes it easier to update from the company side and from the service side. It makes it easier to translate in many instances. And it speeds things along. It makes it more accessible to everyone. And I would like to believe that it improves the safety and the knowledge of the end user, the operators. However, there's been this ongoing debate that I've noticed over the last couple of years, and that I have a lot of companies say to me, why don't you take the AEM safety manuals into an electronic form? And I think it makes sense in theory. We would want to make that content easily available to anyone, easy access. However, the conversations that I've had with legal experts is that the printed material in this day and age is still part of that legal discovery phase, and there has been no legal precedent set yet for a strict electronic-only delivery of the safety content. If there were a manufacturer that would say, you know what, we don't want the printed books anymore, we only want to provide something on a thumb drive, or we want it to be incorporated into the touch screen, and the owner has to, or the operator has to log in to see that safety information first before the equipment turns on, theoretically. It hasn't been proven in court yet. And if they did do that, they would risk setting possibly a precedent in only having electronic safety materials available, and it makes it almost more difficult to prove, did the operator have access to that technology? Did they have access to that data? Can you prove that they saw it? It still is a very, very murky area, and I absolutely love at the AEM Product Safety and Compliance Seminar and our Liability Seminar, all of our members are so incredibly engaged in sharing their thoughts and ideas on that and debating. I truly want to get to the point where we maybe only provide this electronically, but it's got to be legally sound. And the other thing too, take legal out of it. Yeah, I want to make sure that operators can find it. You know, are they looking at it? Do they know it's there? Can they access it? So the printed books still hold a tremendous value. The other example that I can give you is I think you can, when you buy a new car in this day and age, you might have the touch screen and all the fancy technology in that brand new car, but you're most likely still going to have the printed owner's manual in the glove box. So that leads me to the latest beta test that AEM is working on right now with the help of our partners at Ken Cook. We're calling it the Online Reference Guide. We've recently launched our online reference guide, which features best practices for safe equipment operation. The digital content contains standard sections that are found in our printed manuals without being machine specific. Again, if we have 55 different titles, it's going to be very cumbersome for us to try to capture every single thing in an electronic resource, but someday I hope that we will. We're going to cover the basics that are outlined in our manual, such as electrical hazards, excavation hazards, load charts, maintenance safety. Those are some of the most common ones. And we're testing this right now with several users, and we invite everyone at this point to sign up for a free account if you'd like to see how it works. The manual is outlined much in the same way as our manuals. It contains the same categories that are featured: following a safety program, preparing for safe operation, starting safely, before you dig, operating safely and shut down safely, and performing maintenance safely. Those are the standard categories that are predominant in every single manual. The Operate Safely section is unique in each manual because each equipment is unique. It may operate differently. A crane is not a forklift, is not a trencher. So that Operate Safely section is the one that gets very detailed into the specific functionality of each equipment. All of the categories feature audio narration, animated pictograms, and video clips. And again, I'll say that, just to reemphasize one more time, when we talk about printed material versus electronic material, I think that it's become evident that owner's manuals or reference material related to parts or related to possibly how the equipment functions, that's becoming dominant, and rightly so. But if there is any kind of safety content or that talks about hazards, it's still going to be very, very important that I think it exists in a printed form. This online reference guide is AEM's approach or attempt at trying to find that balance or that in-between. How can we provide our safety content to the end users without causing any kind of legal problems or problems with printed material in the future? Now, as I said before, obviously you can't put a price on a human life, but I'd like everyone to consider this. This is the umbrella analogy that I use frequently. A $10 umbrella that you buy at the drugstore is going to protect you against your business clothes, your mobile phone, your haircut, shoes, leather briefcase, and maybe the job interview you're going to that could land you that high-paying job. That's the umbrella's value proposition. I'd like to think that the AEM Safety Manuals program has the same value proposition, but more importantly, in regard to safety. We're talking about human life here, okay? Our inexpensive manuals have not only saved our customers millions in litigation. But more importantly, they've educated numerous equipment operators in safe practices with big equipment. Safety resources and training are an investment for keeping your operators safe and your business protected. It's important to understand what the value proposition is. So considering that, I would like everybody to ask themselves, how could you strengthen your risk management program? What kind of resources could you find that would help you protect your business, but more importantly, protect the people who are using your equipment? What could you use to strengthen that, whether it's online resources, OSHA regulations, or the AEM Safety Materials Program? I would invite all of you to ask questions or provide input into how you see that working for your organization. And my final disclaimer is, before operating any kind of big equipment, always be aware of federal, state, and local regulations, as well as any worksite rules that you will be expected to obey. That's almost a template. I have to say that every time. But that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much for your interest today. And please let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.